Hello, sports fans, and welcome to this edition of the Cavalier Sports Report. I'm your host, Anthony Juarez, and I'm sitting here with tennis coach Glen Moser. Thank you for joining me today, Coach Moser.
Always a pleasure, Anthony.
You've been here at the school for 33 years. It's 3 decades and some change. What are some memories that you have in your mind over those last 33 years?
Well, you mentioned change. That's one of them right there. Of course, I've seen the college for the last 33 years, and its growth and maturity. And just the beauty of this campus, it really makes recruiting easy for me when students do visit. You know, a lot of times the college just sells itself, but you know, it's been great with all the different athletes and so forth, and really joy in the fact that in my early years I coached more than tennis, so got to meet a lot of people that way as well. So it's been great.
Now you are both the men and the women's tennis coach. Is it a little difficult to juggle both those programs?
A little bit, but when I do recruit athletes, I let them know that we pretty much practice together, and 80 to 90% of the matches we play together. So I said, when you join us, these two teams are kind of one, you know, the men and the women's team, and we need to get along with one another and support one another. And boy, the last few years has been awesome that way, and I think if you make it a point right from the beginning that, you know, for the most part they enjoy each other's company, I think. So.
For the most part, you said that you guys play together. If in the instance you guys do travel separate places, where do you go and how do you decide where to go?
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of times the facilities at the other college might dictate, some of the schools might only have 4 courts, and just creates too long a day, you know, if you got both teams there. So we might go over to Baker with our women, you know, 1 week, and when I do that, my assistant's working with the men here, and then a couple weeks later I take the men over there, and my assistant's working with the ladies here. So it works out, but like I say, 80 to 90% of the time we're together.
Incredible win totals for both teams. With the men, you have over 700 wins, and with the women, you have over 500, accounting for over 1,200 wins total for you as a coach. What does that mean for you for all 3 of those numbers with such outstanding win totals?
Well, number one, then I'm old. But number 2, you know, the way Tyler statistically handles things, the numbers can look a little better than maybe they are. But like when we go to a 12-team tournament, and if we happen to finish first, you know, my record is 11-0 for that tournament. And there might be a couple teams I didn't even play in there, but the fact that we finished ahead of them, you get credit for their wins. So that's what puts the numbers so high. But on the other hand, the last 10 years or so, we've been pretty much just playing dual matches, so head to head. So that's all day, and you get a win or a loss that way. So. You know, so that's kind of why the numbers might be so elevated, but I really don't pay too much attention to the numbers, so it's okay.
Both the men and the women have been to the national tournament 20 times or more, and the men went a record 21 straight times from '83 to 2003. What preparation goes into such a longevity of straight national tournament appearances like that?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say it's coaching, but the truth of it is, I mean, you have to have good athletes in tennis. You just can't work miracles without them. So recruiting is paramount. That's number one. And, you know, the one year we didn't go to nationals was really one of my best teams, but the conference was so loaded that year, we didn't make it. And I feel bad for that team, you know, that we didn't get to go, because we played several teams during the year that we beat pretty soundly. And they were at the national tournament, yet we weren't, because our conference was so tough and we weren't able to land in the top 3 that year. So, and normally it's the top 2 that go to the championship. But you know, pretty much you win with good people, and so we work hard to get good people here. And we do work hard on the court.
Until 2005, your teams participated in NJCAA Division II, and then in 2005 you moved to Division I and actually experienced the same amount of success, with the women finishing in the top 5 that year, and the men have not been out of the top 10 since then. What was the difference between Division II and Division I, and how did you just keep on rolling?
Yeah, well, actually it was outside of my power to decide whether you were in D1 or 2. They said Kansas was Division II because we gave a partial scholarship. In Division I, a lot of the schools gave full scholarships. And of course, Division III gives nothing. So, but then tennis, the numbers went down, and so they said anybody that gives any kind of scholarship are all in Division I. And the truth of the matter is, I'd almost rather finish 5th or 6th in Division I than winning Division II, because I do want to play the best teams. Probably the difference between the two is we always had a realist potential to win the national title when we were Division II. And right now, I mean, I have to be in all honesty, we shoot for 3rd or 4th, and if we do that, you know, we haven't done that yet. I think we've been 5th through 8th the last 8 years. But there's an elite group of teams that it's hard to get ahead, but that's still our goal, you know, and we'll keep shooting for it.
When you made the change, were your players at that time who were in that transition, who had played in Division II and then moved to Division I, were they happy about it, or were they wanting to stay in Division II to have that chance to win?
You know, it really didn't affect our schedule that much. It made things a little tougher at the national tournament, but we're still playing the same schedule we used to play, so they hardly noticed. It's just that before we knew we were going to get probably 2 easy rounds in the first couple rounds of the national tournament, and now you can play a great player the first day out. So, you know, so it's not that big a transition.
It hasn't always been just tennis for you here at the school. You've been assistant coaches at almost every sport, it seems like. What are all the assistant coaches you've been in?
Well, I remember my first year here, I was assistant soccer, and I had never seen a soccer match. I was from Ohio. It just didn't exist back there in the late 70s. So, so I'm in the library reading the rules of soccer before I came on here to the job. But I actually really started to enjoy it a lot. I mean, when that net would flop back on a goal, man, that's about as exciting as it gets, because you work so hard for that. And I was assistant baseball and assistant basketball when I came, and I wasn't even in tennis. And then we lost the tennis coach that was here, and my boss, Mr. Gregory at the time, saw me playing tennis every day at lunch and said, you know, he said, how would you like to be the tennis coach? So I no longer coached soccer and baseball and went to tennis, but I still worked basketball till '85. And then tennis was doing so well, and it was just too much of an overlap with basketball and tennis that I've just been the men's and women's tennis coach since then. So
what's your favorite sport to watch?
To watch?
To watch.
College football.
College football?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So to play, it'd still be tennis. But to watch, yeah, I'm kind of addicted to college football in the fall. So,
and what about your favorite sport to coach?
Coach? Yeah, probably tennis. But I do miss the team aspect of, you know, there's a little more strategy in some of the other sports in terms of, you know, when you have a hit and run, or when you play zone or man. In tennis, we kind of line up and get at it. So that's, you know, probably less coaching, is more a player sport than a coach's sport. But there is a big mental side to tennis.
Do you pay any attention to pro tennis?
Yeah, you know, when the major tournaments come around, for sure. But in between, you know, those 4 tournaments, I'm pretty much busy here with my team, so I don't follow it that closely.
Something the school does really well is really brings in the local talent for sports-wise, and you actually have a summer camp. Can you touch on that and the process of that?
Yeah, the summer camp, boy, we've had that for a long time, and the economy has hurt the last couple of years in terms of numbers, but we're still pretty solid. But we used to just sell out, and people were on a waiting list. It's really fundamentals, Anthony. We work on that. And our camps really aren't for the elite kids, because they've got their own clubs, they got their own teaching pros, the people that are doing that. These are pretty much for the beginner intermediate kid, and I really enjoy working with it, because tennis is for everybody. It's just not for the, everybody can find a spot where they can be happy in tennis. So that's what we kind of gear it for.
How does someone get into one of your camps?
Oh, they just go to our website and then take off from there. Just go to the front of our website, and it'll guide you through.
You said the camp isn't for the elite, but obviously as a coach you would like to have the elite players. How do you do your recruiting business?
Recruiting, boy, you've got your old faithful contacts, a few of the coaches that I know in Kansas, and the truth of the matter, it has changed so much. Our top 5 players this year, top 4 players for sure, are international players. And so I get videos, at least 2 or 3 a day, to watch these players play, you know, in my office, is sitting there watching, and then you look at their rankings over in whatever country. Like, we have players from Belarus, France, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand on our team this year, and you look at how they're ranked in their particular country and try to follow that, and still, you know, you can certainly make mistakes, or players look better on video than they really are, and you don't know what kind of heart they have, so you have to try to get some references that way in terms of, you know, how they compete. And so, yeah, it's a totally different world in terms of recruiting now. So.
All right, well, once again, thank you for Coach Moser for joining us today. I'm Anthony Juarez for the Cavalier Sports Report.
Thank you.